Learners, so we are back with our third video of general psychology. This is from the Bachelor of Arts English Honors course BPCG 171 IGNOU. So today we'll discuss about the forebrain, which we had left in the previous video. Now we will discuss about the most important part of the brain, that is forebrain. This portion of brain regulates and controls all higher and complex activities of human beings. That is the difficult and the complex activities that are harder to control, that require skillful work, very precise calculations and work. So of human beings, example, thinking, reasoning, memory, these are our most important activities. Neuroscientists divide it into two parts: telencephalon and diencephalon. Now, neuroscientists have divided brain into two parts, that is telencephalon and diencephalon. Telencephalon includes cerebral hemispheres, limbic system, and basal ganglia. You don't need to go into depth about them. We'll just read them quickly and move on. Diencephalon includes thalamus and hypothalamus. Now, thalamus and hypothalamus are important. So basically, diencephalon is an important part. Telencephalon is not so much. At least not for now. The psychologists have paid much attention on the structure and functions of thalamus and hypothalamus and cerebral hemispheres, because almost all the activities are controlled and regulated by these parts. Thalamus is an oval-shaped structure located right above the midbrain and between the two hemispheres. Thalamus contains three types of sensory nuclei, which receive sensory impulses relating to vision, hearing, pain, temperature, taste and smell, and sends them to appropriate parts of the cerebrum. So thalamus contains three types of sensory nuclei. Nuclear, I think the spelling is wrong here. Now anyways, they contain sensory impulses. They receive sensory impulses, that is impulses relating to the senses. And these relate to our five senses, that is vision, hearing, pain, temperature, taste and smell. Temperature is not so much a sense, but it can be felt through our skin mostly, and pain is also felt. So these are both basically related to our senses, to our sense organs, and then it sends them to the appropriate parts of the cerebrum. So thalamus receives sensory impulse and then sends them to cerebrum. Another type of nuclei receive nerve impulses from cerebellum, brainstem and reticular formation and sends them to cerebrum. So the first kind of nuclei does what? It receives sensory information, it receives sensory impulse and then sends it to cerebrum. The second kind of nuclei receives nerve impulses from cerebellum, brainstem and reticular formation. Reticular formation is related with attention and sleeping and waking up, right? So it receives nerve impulses from cerebellum, brainstem and reticular formation and then sends it to cerebrum. Now the third type of nuclei receives impulses from within the thalamus and sends them to cerebrum. Hypothalamus is a small structure located below the thalamus. It is very important and functions to regulate and control biological motives of hunger, thirst and sex. It also controls and regulates homeostatic mechanism of our body. As for example, when we feel hot, it causes us to sweat, thereby reducing our body temperature. And when we feel cold, it causes us to shiver, thereby raising our body temperature. So these activities are also controlled by hypothalamus. Now, hypothalamus also regulates the activities of autonomic nervous system and endocrine gland. It regulates the functioning of pituitary gland, which affects the functioning of all other glands in turn. Hypothalamus plays an important role in the regulation and control of emotions like anger, fear and aggression. So you can clearly see how important hypothalamus is, right? It is very, very important, and as it even controls our emotions, which play a very vital role in our actual life, interaction with other beings. Now after hypothalamus comes basal ganglia. Basal ganglia include caudate nuclei, putamen, globus pallidus and some part of amygdala. It plays an important role in motor control. Destruction of this portion may lead to Parkinson's disease. You just need to take care of these 2 points. That the destruction of basal ganglia may lead to Parkinson's disease, and it plays an important role in motor control. Just these 2 points for basal ganglia. Limbic system has 5 main parts: olfactory bulb, septal area, hippocampus, amygdala, and cingulate gyrus. Olfactory bulb receives smell sensations. Septal area, cingulated gyrus, and amygdala play important role in the regulation of emotions. Hippocampus plays an important role in memory. Now I don't know if it's hippocampus or hippocampus. The cerebrum is the largest portion of the brain and is divided into two hemispheres by the longitudinal fissure. Both right and left hemispheres are so in a longitude way, like it is divided like this, in this part and this part. The cerebrum is the largest portion of the brain. So you also need to remember this line. It is the largest portion of the brain. Both right and left hemispheres are composed of grey matter. This point is also important. In layman's language, it is said that larger the grey matter, the more intelligent a person will be. The two hemispheres are connected through corpus callosum, a bundle of nerve fibers. So these two hemispheres are connected through a bundle of fibers, nerve fibers. Each hemisphere has two deep fissures known as, fissure means a deep crack. So each hemisphere has two deep fissures known as fissure of Rolando. It's not Ronaldo, it's Rolando. And central sulcus or lateral fissure. If you want to remember it by lateral fissures, that is also fine. These fissures together divide each hemisphere into 4 parts or lobes. Frontal lobe is located in front of the central sulcus and above the lateral fissure. It plays important role in motor activities and higher mental processes. Well, you can read all of them by yourself. So what is important is the parietal lobe. Just read this one carefully. Parietal lobe. Moving on, peripheral nervous system. This comprises of all those neurons which lie outside the brain and spinal cord and connect these two with receptors, effectors and glands. It is divided into 2 parts, somatic and autonomic nervous system. Somatic nervous system. It is primarily related to voluntary activities that we wish and then happen. Central nervous system sends impulses to voluntary muscles like our fingers, our hand, right? Hand movement, like this hand movement here, and the finger movement, and the feet movement, like this feet movement, right? So all these are voluntary muscles, like we wish them to move, and that is how they move. They don't move by themselves. They move only if we wish, or only if we want them to move, or only if we command them to move. Only then they move. They don't move without our command. Like your heart will beat even if you want to or don't want to. You will have to breathe even if you want to or you don't want to. However, breathing to a certain extent is controlled, but the blood pressure is completely uncontrolled. You cannot control it. These are involuntary muscles, but major muscles like moving, sitting, breathing, and like rolling your eyes or looking at somewhere, not looking, eating, moving your jaw, these are voluntary muscles. Central nervous system sends impulses to voluntary muscles through somatic nervous system. So our central nervous system, that is our spinal cord and brain, they send impulse to voluntary muscles, to these are voluntary muscles through somatic nervous system. So through somatic nervous system, the signals are passed to the voluntary muscles. And voluntary muscles are those which we move on our command. It is further divided into cranial nerves and spinal nerves. So somatic nervous system is further divided into cranial nerves and spinal nerves. Okay, now next page. Now cranial nerves originate from the bony skull and are found in pairs of 12 nerves. These are motor, sensory and association nerves. Spinal nerves originate at regular intervals from the spinal cord and they are in 31 pairs and divided into 5 parts. I think you can, there's no need to go in depth or explain these two because they're not so much important. Moving on to the autonomic nervous system. This is rather important portion of peripheral nervous system. It is comprised of those neurons or nerve cells which regulate and control involuntary muscles, as the name suggests, autonomic nervous system. And also includes glands like kidneys, cardiac muscles, endocrine glands, etc. Although connected with brain and spinal cord, it acts in an independent manner. So although it is connected with the spinal cord and the skull, with the brain, so basically the brain and the spinal cord should command it, but it still acts independently even after being connected with them. Autonomic nervous system is further subdivided into sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system. Like the somatic nervous system was divided into cranial, spinal nerves, in the same way autonomic nervous system is further divided into sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system. So parasympathetic system is located in the thoracic and lumbar region of spinal cord. You need to search it on net. What are the thoracic and lumbar region? Because I don't think even a diagram. Gosh, my diagram is a little bit messed up. So you can check it online. Lumbar and thoracic region, and is therefore known as thoracic lumbar system. I don't know how to pronounce it. Right, this thoracic lumbar system or thoracic lumbar system. Anyways, it acts in an integrated manner. It prepares our body for emergency situations. Example, when faced with dangers, it activates adrenal gland and pancreas, thereby increasing the quantity of blood sugar in blood and also increases the rate of metabolism. So it increases the rate of sugar in our blood. And what is sugar? Sugar turns into glucose. So it provides us with an extra energy, extra amounts of glucose, so that we get extra amount of energy instantly. Like you might have heard about glucovita bolts. So they are nothing but easily dissolvable sugar. Glucose. Easily dissolving glucose. So you take a glucovita bolt, it dissolves quickly into your bloodstream and provides you with instant energy. It activates all these changes in the body, give us extra energy to meet the emergency situation. Parasympathetic system is located in the cranial and sacral regions of the spinal cord, hence called craniosacral system. It functions to restore our bodily processes to normalcy, right? Like back to normal. You have a rush of adrenaline. It is caused by sympathetic system. On the other side, parasympathetic system tries to revert your body back to the normal position, decreasing the amount of adrenaline inside your body. It functions to restore our bodily processes to normalcy. In other words, it is the opposite of sympathetic system. It lowers metabolic rate, heartbeat, and quantity of blood sugar in the blood. Although the two systems are antagonistic, they tend to act in a coordinated manner. Means they act with coordination with each other. They act with in a harmony with each other. Example, in situations of fear or anger, adrenal gland, pancreas are activated by the sympathetic system to generate more energy. So the adrenal gland, the pancreas, they are activated by the sympathetic system to generate more energy. And at the same time, the parasympathetic system suspends digestive activity. So it does not takes back the glucose levels in our body. In fact, it suspends other activity which help in the rush of the adrenaline. So for example, it suspends the digestive activity and other functional system. Like it becomes hard to pick up your hands, right? It becomes hard to move when you have a huge rush of adrenaline. You can't focus anywhere else. You just focus on one particular thing. That is due to parasympathetic system. And you get a rush of energy. You get some extra energy. You suddenly fight, suddenly move. You have some certain kind of power inside you. That is due to sympathetic system. So they both work in harmony with each other. And other functional systems, so that energy freed from these is available for use to meet the emergency situation. Now the role of endocrine glands. There's nothing much to explain in endocrine glands. They've just given a big list of the endocrine glands, what is their work, where they are located. So I don't think I can be of much help here. Endocrine glands are a group of glands that release their chemical substance known as hormone directly into the bloodstream. Like they do not send it to the stomach and then wait to be digested and then finally taken by the villi into the bloodstream. They directly release them into the bloodstream. They directly release their hormones, their chemicals into the bloodstream. So after that, there is this big table and the chapter is finished. So I think we're done with today's video too. You can read this table once if you want to. But besides it is not very important. I'll mark some important ones though if you wish. I think you just need to read it once or twice. It's good enough.